Hello, Kat.
Hello, John.
How are you?
John, I'm well. How are you?
I am also well.
That is
Thank you
excellent to
for
hear.
asking.
You're welcome for asking.
What, Kat? What, as ever, is it that we are doing?
John, we are
Yes,
recording a podcast.
We are. Accurate information, as always, as I've always been able to depend on from my partner, Ms. Kat Crimmins.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Awesome.
what we're doing.
I guess that's pretty much all. Oh no, wait. What do we do on our podcast that we're recording right now?
Sure. We talk about mistakes. We have been known to talk about my mistakes. We've talked about your mistakes.
We've done that as well.
We've talked about other people's mistakes who come on to tell us those mistakes.
Right. We are not
sometimes-
TMZ. We don't tell other people's mistakes as a rule.
We don't.
Nope.
No, we have too much class for that.
Correct.
It's kind of a rule. We don't talk about other people's mistakes.
Yeah, we try very hard not to. Occasionally, a guest in the act of telling their own mistake will need to explicate further mistakes made by people in their party or involved in their situation.
Sure. But I guess, you know what? We also talk about mistakes in sort of like current events. So that's a thing we do. I guess if you're not in the public light, we don't talk about your mistakes.
Right. Or if we do, we anonymize you. We are not doxers here at the My Mistake podcast.
No, we would never.
No.
And then sometimes we talk about historical mistakes. See, now it's just so synonymous.
I am much more likely to say hysterical when I mean historical after 3 years of doing this. You know?
Yeah. So we'll talk about historical mistakes, which we have called hysterical mistorks.
We have called them that.
Which is always fun. A little history lesson for you there of people at home, except for Jill. Jill hates it.
Oh, Jill, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry but you know, we have some, Jill, you should never tune out just because you hear that we might be doing a hysterical mistork, because there might be follow-up content. There might be Halo content.
That's true. And in the middle of a hysterical mistork, we might just start talking about you, Jill.
We might mention Jill's name.
Yeah. So you should just always listen no matter what we're talking about.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah. So I think have we leaked the information that this is in fact an hysterical mistork?
Oh,
Exciting and new. Come aboard. I'm going to talk about history to you.
Woo!
It's Mistake Boat.
Mistake Boat.
Sure. Why not?
That's fun.
If only this hysterical mistork had anything to do with boats, it would have been so dead on.
God. So good.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We should save that title for a hysterical mistork about a boat.
Okay, but we have to keep the recording of the singing that I just did so that we can play it when we do that episode.
Not a problem.
All right, awesome. And nothing goes to waste here at the My Mistake podcast.
No.
We use every part of the recording.
We do. We're very responsible like that.
Yep, exactly.
John, I got a Buddy Holly thing going on today.
You do?
Do you see that?
But yeah, you got some new glasses?
Got some new glasses.
Yeah, I got the upper frames. I like it. Sing me a little Buddy Holly.
Nope.
No? Oh.
No and.
Okay. No. You're a nobody.
Nobody. Bag of soup.
There it is.
That's all I got.
You fight me in the end.
I couldn't help it.
In the end, you could not stop yourself from singing Peggy Sue.
Maybe that should be my Halloween costume this year is Buddy Holly.
I think that could work.
I think I can do it.
Part of the reason I could not tell that you had new frames is because from the angle where your webcam is that I'm looking at you through, it lines up almost perfectly with your very dark, lovely eyebrows.
Very lush, bushy eyebrow. I got some Eugene Levy's over here.
Listen, I grew up at a certain point in time when you had to watch Little House on the Prairie. You just had to, because it was like the only thing
that was on.
That was on all three channels. Not really, but on whatever. And the young lady who played Laura Ingalls Wilder, who later became the president of SAG.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Gilbert? Melissa Gilbert?
Melissa Gilbert.
Melissa Gilbert, yeah.
Yep. I'm just going to go on and pretend like you didn't just bail me out because I forgot her name. I was actually quizzing you to see how strong you were, and congratulations, you're strong.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, she had prodigious eyebrows as a child, and I was, as little kids could be. I think we were close to the same age. She might have actually been a little bit younger than I was.
Okay.
But yeah, kind of had a little crush on Melissa Gilbert as a kid, and as a result, I've always loved. And like Brooke Shields had eyebrows.
Sure.
Yeah, eyebrows were a thing back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, just tease me with your eyebrows.
I can cock one. I wish I could cock both. I can just cock one.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I have the move where I put them both up and then put the left one down.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, I got to practice.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be much better if I could just put the right one up, but that's where I'm at, the eyebrow cocking.
Anyway. I mean, I gotta say we've been doing a lot of eyebrow work in the last couple minutes. No one knows because this is an audio medium.
That's right, but they should know we are recording this video, and one day, if I ever get motivated
recording
enough,
this video.
Oh, we're not. Well, there we go then.
My goodness.
Yep.
I'm so glad you said that.
All that eyebrow work is
Damn it,
lost.
it's gone.
It's gone.
It's completely lost to history.
Lost to the annals of history.
Fuck.
The annals. That's it.
Something else.
Right? Something totally else. So, so even if you were to join our hypothetical Patreon that could happen in the future, you will not get to see the eyebrow work. That
You
just
would
occurred.
never see it.
You can only hear the verbal talking about of it. Anyway, eyebrows. This show is about... no, it's not about...
No, it's not.
No. So here's the thing. The Hysterical Mistork itself is a little light on detail. So I want to make sure that people expect a certain amount of content from us.
Yes.
Now, I didn't say a certain quality of content.
No.
It's a certain amount. We aim to fill an hour and not go much over that, right?
Yes.
That's our general aim.
Yeah.
We have, in the past, occasionally fallen short, but
That's
far
true.
more frequently, we have run way over. Occasionally even having had to split things into 2, and I think one time 3.
Really?
I think so. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
Might have only been 2. Maybe
They
I
just
thought it should have been
like
3.
3.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Right. So we have just, and this is Jill. This is why you need to stay tuned, because it's content like this that you would miss if you didn't tune in just because it was a Hysterical Mistork.
Yeah, Jill, come on.
Right. So this is some weird news. This was published about a week ago, and I have not read it since I first found it about 4 days ago.
So this is an Oops Files, right?
This is an Oops Files.
Okay.
So
we got to pause for the intro music. Perfect.
Nice. So we have Anne for this. That's good.
Sure.
Thank you, Anne.
No, she did.
Oh.
She made the intro. Yeah.
No, I know she made the... yeah, and you have it, so you can edit if you end up being
baby. I got
the
the
lucky person
technology.
to edit. Right? Okay. So, Kat, I'd like to tell you a story.
Oh, good.
And the title of this story, and I'm going to read this as I do because it's an Oops file, so it's ripped from the headlines.
Love it.
Ripped off of the headlines. Woman injects crushed Black Widow to get high,
Oh, no.
comma, has a bad time.
No. Has a bad time.
Has a bad time. I originally
no.
found this elsewhere, but found that the best version of the article that I could find is actually on IFL Science, which is ifuckinglovescience.com.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Kat, a woman who crushed up a whole Black Widow spider and injected it in an effort to get high in the 1990s ended up having a very bad time when the arachnid's venom kicked in.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. This is a testament to the power of addiction, right? Like, this person probably like could not score whatever their drug of choice was. If it's injectable, I'm assuming it's probably heroin. Could be methamphetamine.
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah. Not a long timeline on people injecting speed directly, so that's the thing. But
injecting though, that's intense.
oh yeah. No, he crushed it up, and like here's the thing, like you know, right, that when a black widow spider bites you, Kat, you don't get high, right?
I mean, I had never heard that.
No. If that happened, we would have black widow farms. Black widow spider farms. People would be trafficking in black widows.
Yeah.
They would be having them bite them. You know, honestly, I can't think of a much better Darwinian survival trait for a spider to develop.
That's very smart, yeah.
Than a psychoactive venom bite. Yeah, awesome. But that's not the timeline that we live in, Kat.
Nope, not this one.
Nope. The unpleasant trip saw her spend a few days in intensive care unit with breathing difficulties, muscle cramping, and possible anaphylaxis. None of those things are fun to have. Yeah.
No, it's all bad. That's all a bad time.
It is. Hence the has had a bad time. The unusual case is reported in a 1996 correspondence in the Annals of Emergency Medicine, detailing the events following a 37-year-old woman's decision to I love how it's a decision. It's like, she thought about this rationally and decided the best course of action was to crush up a black widow spider and
inject it.
And okay, here we go. Decision to inject a mixture of crushed up whole black widow spider and 10 milliliters of distilled water. She would later tell doctors that the injection was intended to get her high, but instead she ended up at the emergency department with severe muscle cramps an hour later. The cramping was the worst in her abdomen, thighs, and back, and came with an unsettling side order of headaches and anxiety. I can see why you might be anxious at this point in this process. Yeah. Upon examination, her heart rate and blood pressure were skyrocketing at 188 beats per minute.
Oh, no.
And 188 over 108 millimeters of quicksilver, mercury, respectively. A healthy blood pressure is about 120 over 80. She was 188 over 108.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Okay.
Yeah. Her extreme pain was treated with morphine. So she ended up getting,
I mean...
That's her favorite.
Mission accomplished.
Right? Yeah. But she soon began experiencing breathing difficulties and was subsequently admitted to the ICU. This is a common complaint among people who have been bitten by black widow spiders. They don't, these bites don't tend to be fatal to adults. To children, they can.
Sure.
But the paralysis of the muscles that allow you to breathe, right, is one of the reasons why you'll have, you can't get as much air.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. I like to have those working. It's good to have them in functional condition. Yep.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally. Okay. Subsequently admitted to the ICU, requiring several treatments to help her breathe across a few days. The corresponding doctors report that bronchial smooth muscle contraction was in part to blame for her breathing difficulty, possibly brought on by the large quantities of black widow venom that would have entered her system when she injected the crushed up arachnid.
Do you think?
Here's the thing that I really didn't think about until I got to this point in the story.
Yeah.
Kat, when you are naturally in the wild bitten by a black widow spider, you get a portion of the venom that they've got on board at the time.
Little shot of it.
Yeah. This woman took all of it, like every bit that who knows? I don't know. Maybe a spider's got, I'll say at least 2 bites worth of venom in her.
Who knows?
Maybe more. Maybe she has as much as 6.
Well, their butts are pretty bulbous, right? The black widow spider butt, it's pretty bulbous.
It's pretty bulbous. It is. It's one of the ways you identify them.
Exactly. I'm guessing that's where they store the venom. I don't know.
I don't know where their gland for that is.
We don't know anything about spiders, but I mean, that's my guess.
I feel like no, because they put it in through their fangs, so it's probably the gland that carries that venom is probably closer to that, but I don't know. I know as much as you do about it. One thing that makes me really mad when you see representations of black widow spiders, sometimes even photographs, Kat,
Yes.
Some things really grind my gears.
Oh, my.
And when you see a picture of a black widow spider, you will often see the red hourglass, right? But they'll show it on the back of the spider. And
Oh,
that's not where it
that's
is
not
on
accurate.
the actual spider. It's on their abdomen. It's underneath.
That's right.
And so it's like, yeah, you're teaching people an incorrect way to identify things. They're just going to see a spider and go, oh, look, it's black. Because you don't think to look under necessarily. And by the time you are, you may be in danger.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me lift up this spider to see if it's a black widow.
They're not fond of that.
No, they don't like it. I mean, living where we do, John, there is an abundance of black widow spiders. I feel like, you know to look out for them, and you know what they look like. Even if you can't, in my opinion, even if you can't see the little red hourglass, they are a menacing looking spider.
They are.
They're just like very, I don't like coming upon a black widow. It's just very upsetting.
Yeah. No, it's gnarly. And we have a lot of brown widow spiders here too.
Yeah, great.
Their venom, yeah, right? Like it's diversity. I don't want to hear you talking bad about it, okay?
Sure, yeah. Representation matters.
If you're trying to exclude black and brown entities from your environment, then maybe you have a problem, Kat. I would
never. I would never.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. But anyway, so yes, she's getting the full whatever that spider has made.
The full Monty.
All in one. Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you. The full Monty. I think
You're
that's, yep. Okay. Black widow venom is 15 times more powerful than that of a rattlesnake, making it more dangerous. But these spiders only envenomate when threatened. And by the way, envenomate, great word.
Awesome word.
Great word. I've never even heard that word before today.
No.
So, because I didn't read this far in the article last night.
I don't know that you should admit that, John.
Yep. Oh,
So does that mean that they only produce the venom as they're biting into you?
I think it means that when they only inject venom.
Right.
Maybe it means they make it on demand. I don't know.
Because I mean, a rattlesnake doesn't go around just like shooting venom. They I'm guessing inject it into you as they're biting you, right? So why would they distinguish whatever the black widow is doing from the rattlesnake? Maybe it's that. Maybe they just. Yeah, now I really want to know about black widow spiders.
I know, me too. It's crazy. So, but what's very interesting, and you can tell that I did not read this far down into the article.
Oh, no.
Because I already knew it was going to be great. I'm like, this is good. We're keeping this. But these spiders only envenomate when threatened. And then parenthetically, they say, which raises questions about all the penis bites.
Oh.
And you may remember, once upon a time, I told a story about the thought that it's entirely possible that I was bitten on my, member
Sure.
by a black widow spider.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what are you implying exactly?
Well, what they're saying is that the thing that raises questions about the bites is why are they feeling threatened when they're in the area of your Johnson, right?
Oh, right.
And what they're implying there is that people may actually be, utilizing these spiders in some kind of bizarre ritual.
I mean, I don't know. That seems a bit of a stretch.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying they're doing yoga with this.
They really are. They're trying hard. So to speak.
But now I definitely need to look up that article, and that may be a future Oops file at some point.
File that away.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it says they're perfectly safe if left well alone, but if you grind one up and inject it, eventually you're gonna have a bad time.
Seems to hold up.
This woman will testify because apparently she lived, no thanks to herself.
No, she tried hard not to.
Yep. Most healthy adults will feel unwell and experience some pain, but eventually recover, like this trio of aspiring Spider-Men who tried to gain superpowers by goading a black widow into biting them.
No.
That's clickbait if I've ever seen it.
No.
Yep.
Come on.
Right. Well, people, so apparently two young ladies murdered or tried to murder a third young lady because they were trying to court Slender Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, never put it past somebody who's been on the wrong parts of the internet for too long.
Fair enough.
So, however, for young children, the elderly, or people with pre-existing conditions, the bite can sometimes prove fatal. I think we kind of already examined that. Doctors treating the woman who injected the crushed-up Black Widow concoction also theorized that a protein within the spider's anatomy may have triggered an allergic reaction that could explain some of her severe symptoms.
Oh.
So, real 1-2 punch here.
Okay.
Whether it was the venom or something else isn't known, but it may have triggered her pre-existing asthma, leading to considerable difficulty breathing. Fortunately, the traumatic event had a happy ending as the woman recovered from her symptoms and was reportedly in good health during a checkup 1 month on.
Oh,
While
good.
humans, yeah, exactly. I'm sure she never did anything else dumb again after that.
No.
Nope. While humans have a rich history of seeking nirvana from natural products, even our primate relatives spin to get a buzz, which is another clickbait headline. It seems that venomous arachnid infusions are a bad way to go. This case report is published in the Annals of Emergency Medicine.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what the mistake is, but, if I think about it hard enough, I'll figure it out.
It's in there somewhere,
It is indeed.
Maybe somebody else can let us know.
Yeah. Could you write in and tell us why this was featured in an Oops file?
What I'm disappointed in, John, and maybe you just kind of skimmed over it and didn't include it in your reporting. Where is
How
this
dare
person?
you? Go ahead.
Where did this person live? Because I got my money on Florida. For some reason, Ohio feels right to me.
I don't think there are a lot of Black Widows in Ohio. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
that's a good point, actually. That would narrow it down, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Southern California for show.
Please don't let her be from Southern California. It's just embarrassing.
Well, let me see here if I can pull up the original Annals of Emergency Medicine. By the way, Annals getting a lot of heavy lifting done today.
A lot of annals today.
A lot of Annals.
Everywhere.
This looks like one of those things I probably have to buy
Forget it.
to read it. That's a super bummer. Let me see. It's nope. There is no information, probably purposely, on where said injection took place on the map. That is.
With a quick Google, they can be found in the southern United States.
Okay.
Florida.
Yeah.
And as western as Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Michigan. And of course.
Oh, if they're in Michigan, they might
California.
make it. Michigan's got worse winters than Ohio, I tend to think, and that would be why I thought they wouldn't be able to survive there.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
New York. They've been found in New York. So this really could be just about anywhere. Yeah, I got my money on Florida.
Sure. Florida woman.
It's a pretty easy bet, but.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you hear about something crazy being done, especially involving exotic animals or pets,
Yes.
it's usually Florida.
Just guess Florida. And they're probably going to be right most of the time.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. That was the Oops file.
That was very fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Glad she's okay.
What should we do next, Kat?
I think we roll into this. Let's go to the main event.
All right. I am
I'm
ready
here for
to
it.
mistork you hysterically.
Bring it. Let's
I
go.
like the ring of that.
Pretty good.
Couple of questions to start off, because I always like to
Perfect.
know where I'm starting off with you.
Okay.
Okay. Kat, are you familiar with a city called Toronto?
I am familiar with Toronto.
Okay, good. Okay, that's one thing. Good to know. Okay. And what do you know about firefighters?
What do I know about firefighters? Just generally speaking? Their job is to fight fires.
Correct.
Sometimes they work as paramedics. They work out of a firehouse.
Right.
And they get to
usually,
ride
yeah.
around in big, cool red fire engines.
Right. Now, this story, Kat, involves both Toronto and firefighters.
Okay, great.
But it takes place in 1855.
Oh, boy. I like it already.
Yep. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Toronto and firefighters before I bring in the third of four participants in what we're going to talk about today.
All right.
Firefighters, Kat, in 1855, they were not controlled by a central agency, and this is in most places, but specifically in Toronto, these were like independent kind of groups of men, exclusively men,
of course,
who they were volunteer firehouses. And there was a controller, like an emergency services controller for the government of Toronto, but they were very limited in what they did. And now, what's interesting is I've read a couple of different accounts about how firefighters operated at the time.
Okay.
It's very interesting that there's a lot of mention that the firefighters would race to a fire. Right? Like try to get there as fast as possible.
Okay.
And some of them say it was a point of honor or it was a bragging point or something like that. But I will tell you, Kat, what I strongly suspect, because I have read about this in other places and I don't know why it would be any different here. Because there could be lots of different volunteer fire companies, the way that it worked, they were not employed by the government. They were self-employed, essentially. They had bought their own equipment and they would use that equipment to put out the fires. But the way it would work is the first firefighting company to arrive at the fire would have dibs. It was their fire.
Okay.
And so therefore, they would actually get paid, be it by the city or by the owner of the property that, is en flagrante at the time.
Okay.
En fuego, I think. En flagrante is a little different. But yeah. So it was very important to them to get to the fire first.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
And these fire companies, they acted as sort of almost like social clubs. So they would hang out and drink. It was mostly young men. They were strong and virile and looking for, fun and trouble all the time.
Sure.
Kind of thing. All right. They had little to no training, Kat.
Perfect.
Didn't know what they were doing,
Great.
Yep, exactly. And the nature of the equipment at that time, do you remember that? Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember approximately when we talked about the first motorized ambulance in Vancouver? Do you remember approximately what year that was?
I'm going to say it was towards the end. It was towards the end of the 1800s. I'm going to say it's like 1870s, 1885, something like that.
Right. Yeah, at this time, as near as I can tell, if there were any gas-powered vehicles, which I don't think there were in 1855, but if there were, they would have been novelties, right? Like not something that you would have seen a lot of.
Yeah.
So the way that these firefighting companies worked is they had wagons that had big casks or barrels or tanks of water on them.
Sure.
And those were usually horse-drawn because those could get away from you. There's a lot of mass and it can shift when it's water and that kind of thing. So you want something strong and whatever pulling it, and that was horses.
Okay.
But the pumps, right, like were mounted on their own wheels, and those were separate, and those were mostly drawn by humans. The guys would actually grab onto the poles and run to where the fire was. And they're racing every other fire company in the city to get there first so they can get paid.
Okay.
So that just sets up an interesting dynamic right off the bat. Right?
All right.
Okay. Now, something else that's important to know about Toronto at the time, there is a group called the Grand Orange Lodge of British America,
Okay.
which largely controlled the government of Toronto. And it's so this was made up of mostly Irish Protestants. They called themselves the Orange Men because in some weird, I don't know how much you know about the Troubles. The Troubles.
Sure.
But in Ireland between the Protestants and the Catholics, the color green was usually associated with Irish Catholics, and the color orange was essentially equated to the Protestant Irish. And so the Protestant Irish, as a result of Britain being the major settler in North America and in Canada specifically, where they kept Canada even after us ingrates down here in the South split off.
Sure.
But it's not really a surprise. They were there first and in higher numbers at the beginning than the Irish Catholics. They kind of took control. Most of the mayor was almost always an Orangeman, and most of the police, almost always the police chief was an Orangeman. The firefighters as well were mostly Orangemen. Okay. If they weren't themselves, Irish Protestants, they at least affiliated with them. They had gotten in good with them because they were sort of the political machine, the mafia in the area. So you kind of had to kiss the ring if you wanted a job in one of those things.
All right.
So perfectly normal democracy, all that good stuff.
Sure.
Right. So when the potato famine happened, which, the Protestants were not as affected by it because I think we've talked a little bit about the potato famine. It was actually artificial. It didn't need to happen, but the British insisted on exporting potatoes out of Ireland, and so the people who actually lived there and grew them couldn't have them, or lived near where they were going couldn't have them. So when these when these Irish Catholic immigrants started coming to Toronto, as they would. They were held down by the Orangemen. They were not allowed to work in anything other than the most menial jobs. They were the shit shovelers, the ditch diggers, that kind of thing. And they weren't allowed to advance above that because, the Orangemen were in control.
Got it.
Right. So,
by the way,
go ahead. Yeah.
Jill has a dog named Petey.
Oh, good to know. I would love it if you would pepper in little things about Jill.
I'm going to.
Because let's face it, what's going to keep Jill interested more than facts about Jill?
100%.
Right? Amber, we love you. We know you don't need this level of hand-holding.
No. Exactly.
So, we know a little bit now about the Orangemen. They held magistrates in their pockets. They could control jury outcomes because they'd have people on the jury who were Orangemen, or they would put pressure on them.
So this was a mob. This is like the
very much
mafia.
So.
Okay.
Very much so.
Great.
And they were implicated in almost every riot that occurred in Toronto over the 30-year period between 1840 and 1870.
My goodness.
So they were basically immune because they owned all the judges and the mayor and all that. So they didn't have to worry about it. They could walk around, do whatever they wanted, and not fear any repercussion from the law.
Okay.
But as these Catholic immigrants were coming in, it ended up that there were more Irish Catholic immigrants than there were Irish Protestant Orangemen, right?
Okay.
So you had this situation, which is always dangerous, where you have a minority ruling class and more people under them who are, being oppressed.
Sure.
Always fun.
It's good times.
So, yeah. So now we know a little. Oh, and by the way, the population of Toronto was growing rapidly at this time. It was basically it's a frontier town. Like you think of a Western town kind of thing.
Sure.
It's very similar to that. They had a population of 40,000. And for that population of 40,000, they had 152 taverns.
Whoa.
Within the city limits of Toronto.
Hell yeah.
So they could probably fit all of the people of Toronto in a tavern of one kind or another at that time. Yep. They also had a lot of brothels, Kat.
Oh, really?
You familiar with brothels?
I have heard of them.
They had those, a lot of them.
Okay.
There was one specific one that belonged to Mary Ann Armstrong.
Okay.
It was on King Street.
Ah.
Okay. So if you're familiar with the area, then you know. So there was a night. It was a Friday the 13th, Kat.
Oh no.
Friday the 13th of July in 1855.
Okay.
It turns out that Mary Ann Armstrong's brothel was frequented heavily by firefighters. They like to go there to get things done.
Sure. Yeah.
So this was a very, very common thing for that brothel to be full of firemen.
Okay.
Now I'm going to introduce you to the most interesting participants in this little goulash that we're whipping up here.
Okay.
Uh-huh. What do you know about clowns, Kat?
Oh, God. John, I know that I don't like them.
Yeah, it's pretty commonly held opinion these days.
Clowns are paid to make people laugh. Sometimes
Right.
they have silly wigs and makeup, and they have big shoes sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty accurate. I will give you full marks on that.
Thank you.
Now, at the time, in 1855, there was a specific circus. It was S.B. Howe's Star Troop Menagerie and Circus.
Wow, that is a
Right?
mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And they were based out of New York, but also, went up above the old border and would tour there as well. This was a pretty large circus at the time. It was, I think it was the first circus to introduce elephants into Canada at all.
Oh,
They brought the first elephant that had ever been in Canada, except maybe, I don't know, do you count mammoths and things like that?
sure. Prehistoric.
Sure. I mean, that was some time ago. So let's just say they were the first to reintroduce
That's fair.
The elephant.
Yeah.
So pretty big outfit.
Yeah, okay.
And they had a lot of clowns. And the history of clowning, Kat, is a long and storied one.
Sure.
And it's important to know that most clowns, at least at that time, were not just performers and entertainers. They were also the people who would kind of set things up and tear things down. So we're looking at another group of entirely men who were mostly young, strong-backed, looking to sometimes get into some trouble.
Sure.
So into this, we introduce the fact that the circus was in town for a couple of days, which was kind of unusual. They would often set up just for one day and then tear down that evening. Okay. But this was a big enough town that they were going to do 2 days worth of shows. And so it's after the first day. They've already done several shows, like a morning show, a matinee, and an evening show. End of the day, they don't have to tear down and pack up. So they're going into town, Kat.
Yeah, they got the night off.
That's right. So they head over to either the closest or the best known to them brothel that they can find, which happens to belong to one Mary Ann Armstrong. So we've got a brothel.
Yes.
We've got firefighters. We've got clowns.
What's the name of the brothel, John? Did you say that and I just missed it?
Mary Ann Armstrong. See, here was the deal.
It's not a great name, frankly.
No. Well, the thing is, you didn't get a license for a brothel. There was no zoning for where brothels happen.
Okay.
So essentially, Mary Ann Armstrong owned a house.
Got it.
A big house, and Mary Ann Armstrong's house operated as a brothel.
Got it.
Yeah. Pretty unassuming, but people knew where to go.
Sure.
To find booze and a willing partner with whom to do
booze and boobs.
Booze and boobs. There we go.
Yes,
all right. Why don't we start that franchise?
That is something. Yeah.
I feel like it's already Hooters, but we can just.
Let's write that down. Let's circle back.
Yep. Circle back. Put a pin in it. Awesome. So on this night, Friday the 13th of July, 1855. Something happened, Kat. There was, and there's no agreement as to exactly what it was that started the altercation between the clowns and the firefighters.
Oh no!
There are a couple. There are a few things different parties swear by that this is what happened. I don't know how they think they know it or why they think that they know it better than anybody else. But it's fun to list the things that people say where they start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And what's really interesting about this is almost every account entirely blames the clowns. But there's one incident that in a lot of these cases where they blame this one on a clown. In one account that I read, they blamed it on a firefighter.
Oh.
They still blamed the other two on clowns. But so here I'm going to read you these so this makes sense.
Okay, great.
or doesn't, but
and that's good too.
Yeah, makes no sense in a more interesting way. So the things that were blamed for starting the altercation, the Donnybrook, if you will, were a loudmouthed clown.
Sure, I'll buy
Right?
that.
Yeah. That the clowns cut in line
Oh no.
to get to the sex workers. And that now, and see, the reason I believe this account where they blame the fireman rather than a clown is this one actually has last names of people, which could totally just have been made up and thrown in there for credibility, and I'm gullible enough to buy it. But that a fireman by the name of Frazier knocked the hat off of a clown named Meyer, whether on purpose or accidentally. When the clown told him to pick it up, he refused, and he also refused to apologize.
My goodness.
Mm-hmm. How rude. Rude, Kat.
How rude.
Right. Brothel, everybody knows brothel protocol. If you knock another man's hat off, be he clown or be he fireman, you pick it up and you hand it to him.
And you apologize.
Absolutely. That did not happen. So, Kat, it popped off.
Oh, boy.
And I like to think in my head of what this would have sounded like. Now, I'm sure that these clowns were not in makeup. We're not wearing.
I mean, let's pretend they were.
Because I want to hear little like and like all kinds of and slide whistles.
Of course.
That's not a good slide whistle.
That's
we
okay.
can edit that out, or you can leave it. I don't care.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
It is. But yeah, there was a big fight, Kat, and 2 of the firefighters were so badly beaten that they had to be like hauled off and taken away.
Damn.
Nobody was killed, but the clowns won.
Holy shit.
Firefighters fucked off back to lick their wounds at wherever. And the name of the specific firefighting group, because remember, they operated as like clubs. So they would hang out together, not necessarily with all the other fire people, just their own. This was the Hook and Ladder firefighting company.
I mean, that's classic.
It's great. Isn't it? It sounds pretty generic now, but I think at the time it might have been like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
They were trailblazers.
Sure.
So the Hook and Ladder firefighting company versus SB Howe's Star Troop Menagerie and Circus Clowns.
I mean, it's a very long name for this altercation.
It is. That's why they call it the Clown Riot of 1855. Marketing knows no bounds.
Amazing.
Yeah. So by every account that I read of this, the clowns just stayed there. The firefighters left. The clowns continued to drink and avail themselves of the services of the house.
Okay.
And everything was fine.
Okay. Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the end of the story.
Oh.
For that day.
Well, and before we go on to the next day, let me tell you that Jill's favorite Disney movie is 101 Dalmatians.
Good to know.
Yep.
Good to know. Thank you for that salient fact. They say you shouldn't chum the waters, but what the heck? Let's just keep doing this.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yes, the next day, the news is getting out because this was obviously in the evening.
Sure.
It didn't really make its way around, and it got back to the Orangemen that some out of towners had come through and caused a lot of trouble for a bunch of Orangemen firefighters.
Sure.
And they decided that aggression would not stand, man.
Oh boy!
Right. So a bunch of Orangemen show up around the where the circus is, which is at the Fair Green, very close to the Lawrence Market, which is right there on the shore of
Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario. Yep, that would be the one.
That's it.
Yeah. Thanks for that one too.
You're
I knew
welcome.
that. I already
I'm here
knew.
for you.
I didn't need your help, Kat.
Here for you, brother. Not that you need my help. I know you don't need my help.
Not at all. Totally had that. I was on it. So yeah, it was the Fair Green there, which was a big grassy field at the time. That was where the Big Top was and all that kind of stuff. So these folks showed up and started throwing rocks, Kat, and and rocks and bottles at the circus folk. Well, circus folk
That's not cool.
No, it is not. But circus folk tend to be pretty tough folk. They, when you hear about running away to join the circus, in reality, the people who ran away to join the circus were people who had been through some pretty bad stuff usually.
Sure.
They'd been bullied. They didn't fit into the narrow view of society, how they should be, whether that was their gender, how they looked, their physical abilities, all of that kind of thing. That's why circuses were places where people who did not fit into society could go. And
you could let your freak flag fly.
Amen. Amen. And now I'm trying to remember it from Gabba Gooba. Yeah, it's one of us. One of us.
Freaks.
Freaks. Yep. Anyway, if you know, you know, and if you don't,
you know, you
don't even bother
worry
going down
about
that
it.
rabbit
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But so these were some tough folks. They were able to hold off the townspeople and the Orange Men, and did just fine until the Hook and Ladder Firefighting Company arrived.
Oh shit!
They brought their fire poles.
Oh come on!
They brought axes.
What?
They tore down the big top. They started setting tents on fire.
Shit.
They tipped over the wagons. They beat the circus people so badly that many of them were very injured. So, at least 2 people ran and jumped into the lake in order to avoid being beaten by these fire people.
Yikes. Mm-hmm. The elephants, John, were the elephants okay?
I bet the elephants were okay.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because after all this had been going on for a bit, the mayor did show up.
Okay.
Yay, I guess. It's a little late, but whatever. So the mayor showed up because the police were told about this. It's very reminiscent of January 6th to me. The police were told this was happening.
Yeah.
And the chief of police, who was an Orangeman, just sort of ignored it and wasn't doing anything. And then eventually he sent like 4 or 5 cops out there. And then they went and they came back and said, hey, it looks like it's getting pretty big. So more cops came. But by all accounts, the cops just stood around and made sure that the firefighters were winning and otherwise did not intervene. Wow. Had it started to go another way, I bet it would have been the cops with the firefighters and it'd be a whole thing.
Sure.
Yep.
Lovely.
Yeah. So something pertinent to this. A month before this, there had been a situation where 2 different fire companies were competing to get to the same fire. One of them won, but when the second one arrived, they were so mad that they lost, they attacked the other fire company. So while the place quite literally burned to the ground, these firefighters were beating the shit out of each other. Right? So they didn't even care. Earlier it was that, and then the cops came, tried to stop it, and then it became firefighters versus cops.
Oh, geez.
It was a whole thing.
What the fuck?
Right? Things were rowdy in old Toronto town in 1855.
Okay. T.O. strong.
Right. But this goes further to back up my theory that only the first firefighting company to arrive would actually get paid. Right? And that was important because you had to fund your club.
Sure, yeah.
Like, that's beer money right there.
Beer, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So that had been a month before. So the mayor shows up and prevents them from setting the animal cages on fire, which people were trying to do.
God, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up, dude.
It is messed up. So he did that. Then there are accounts that say that the mayor himself stopped a clown from being killed by prying an axe out of the hands of an angry fireman.
My God.
Mm-hmm.
These guys had some serious anger issues.
Yeah. And in order to finally break it up, he called in a militia. They actually had bayonets drawn in order to stop this thing and prevent it from happening. Yeah. But in the end, the last people standing were all the firefighters and the cops, and the circus folk had all run away.
Sure.
Right? They were like, screw this, we don't need it. 17 people were arrested and charged with rioting.
Okay.
The next day, after the place had cleared out, the circus people came, grabbed everything they could that wasn't hopelessly demolished, and ski-daddled out of town.
Yeah, no
86'd
kidding.
it. I am guessing that they did not come back to town that SB Howes did not bring his circus back to Toronto.
I don't blame him.
Right? Exactly. But I will tell you, Kat, that some good did come out of the 1855 clown riot.
Really?
It did, because all of this happened. The 17 people who were charged, of them, only one was convicted. And it was the police sort of developed amnesia about all the Orangemen who were there doing horrible things. They just couldn't remember that. They couldn't swear to anybody that they had seen them there. They weren't sure if they were there at the time. So because of this, it was such a big brouhaha, and it was so clear who was in the wrong. Now, at the brothel, might well have been the clowns who started it. But this organized violence that, frankly, the Orangemen had been concentrating on the Irish Catholics up until this point. They used to be the main ones getting the brunt of it. Yeah. And to be fair, most of the town did not care about that. They were fine with it. But now it was like it was happening to someone else, too. So people actually got up in arms when only one person was convicted and the cops didn't know. So a commission was ordered to investigate better policing techniques. And Kat, they fired every last fucking cop in Toronto.
Really?
Every single one. There were no police left. Yep.
They cleaned house.
They cleaned house.
Damn.
Then they rebuilt the Toronto Police Service from the ground up. Okay. I will say, of the 100 constables who were fired, they did quietly hire back about half of them. So the influence is still there because nobody ever does it right, you know.
Sure.
The influence was still there because, like, you think, oh man, what a clean cut, right? Like we can go for it. We don't hire back any of the old cops. There's not going to be any of that influence. No, we're going to bring in 50 of them. Oh boy. 50 bad apples. Got to spoil
the back
that
door.
whole
Come back, guys.
Just
it's okay. Come
on in. It's all good.
Come on.
But it did really change the city's reputation after this happened because now, mind you, the Orangemen's hold on local politics was not completely broken for another 100 years.
Whoa.
1955 is when most sources say the Orangemen lost control of local politics. Yeah.
Okay. Damn, that's a pretty good run, though.
Pretty good run. It was good to be an Orangeman back in the,
Apparently.
other than all the outdoor toilets and what have you. But
sure. Aside from that, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is the story of how clowns and firefighters fighting at a brothel ended up completely changing the way that the city of Toronto was policed. Kat.
It's impressive. And if I had a ticket to the circus on that second day and I show up and there's a fucking riot, I'm pretty upset. I'm here to enjoy some popcorn, some cotton candy.
This is something they never mentioned. Like, were there actual civilians there seeing the circus when these other people started throwing rocks and bottles?
Yeah.
Were there?
I mean, were there?
I don't know.
Oh.
Were there's original?
Were there's originals, you know? Put them in your pocket. They get nice and warm. They taste good.
Flavorful and wonderful, as long as you're over 60.
Now, I will say, if it was, in fact, the clowns that did cut line, the rule is no butts, no cuts, no coconuts. So they would have broken that rule.
The second one of that.
Yeah, and that's
what's funny though is they would have been cutting for butting.
That's right.
Which is, I'm assuming that's what some of them are waiting for.
I mean, sure,
Right?
Listen, everybody's got a thing.
I don't know who would have been coconutting on what. But.
Listen, again, do your thing. Like, I'm not here to yuck your yum. Do what you got to do.
I like it. Don't harsh their mellow.
Don't harsh their mellow,
yuck
bro.
Their yum.
And yeah, I wonder if that circus ever came back to Toronto. I wonder if they were just like, nope, that's a no-fly zone.
I'm pretty sure they noped out of Toronto after that because that would have totally sucked. And the fact that the Orangemen did not really lose power for another 100 years.
There you go.
Seems like, if there had been a big change, although what's interesting is they clearly lost power over the police, but it's because this commission that was created was separate from the government and was set up independently on purpose to not have to. Although, with the amount of power that they had and the willingness to use violence that they possessed, it's kind of surprising that they were actually able to improve anything with the police there.
Honestly, like that's kind of, it's impressive that they cleaned house as much as they did. They could have, absolutely just ignored it and been like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting that I'm sure, like, if there are any Torontonians listening now, they're going to be like, of course, I knew this. One of the names that people call Toronto is Toronto the Good, because of how much they turned around and became like a really accepting, good city with, like, good people and good laws, that kind of thing.
Sure. Good poutine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is there a rivalry between who's got the best poutine?
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure there's a there's a rivalry between Montreal and the rest of the country about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're kind of they talk about secession every once in a while, much like Texas.
They sure do.
But it's never happened yet.
No. If you ever find yourself riding a bicycle through Quebec, you'll notice a lot of Quebec flags, not a lot of Canadian flags. A lot of fleur-de-lis flying over there, but not as many big old maple leaves.
And yet, the whole country has to have everything written in French and English.
That's true.
Which is cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, I like dual language. I think that's great.
It's fun.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good
So
stuff.
that's the story, Kat.
This is a good story, John. This is great. The clown riots of 1859, 1855?
1855.
That's pretty good.
1855 Clown Riot of Toronto. Yep. Learned so much about Toronto. I feel like I'm gradually learning, because I learned about Vancouver from you earlier. I learned about Toronto, for the historical origins of the city and what have you. It's very interesting stuff.
I feel like we've talked more about Canadian cities than any other U.S. cities. Like we haven't really
I think we're
embarrassed. Dive
embarrassed.
into. I mean, that's a lot.
Other people do dumb shit too.
That just does.
It's not just Americans.
Well done, sir. That was great. So how did you come upon that gem?
I am so glad you asked because as so many great ideas have come from this person in the past, once again it happened. Ron Bunny, friend of the pod. Ron Bunny was reading about this, and he was like, "Did you ever hear about this?" And he was just telling me, just to tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to do a Hysterical Mistork about that. And then I found out there's not a lot of detail. I really, seriously, Kat, there are probably only 3 things I know about this that I haven't already told you.
Well, then what are they?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Did the brothel, did it get destroyed in the process that first night? Was Mary Armstrong able to open up the next day?
Mary, I'm sure, yeah, because by all accounts, the firemen ran off.
Fucked off.
They were to lick their wounds.
The
clowns stayed and got drunk and, availed themselves of the services of the sex workers.
Yeah. As you do.
As you did.
Now I just, in my mind, I have this great saying. It popped off like a clown in a brothel.
There you go.
That's a good saying.
That could mean so many different things.
Write that down.
We need Tig.
We do.
Tig does the best
good.
clown horn.
Incredible.
Yep.
We should call her
awesome.
up.
Well, thank you for listening to me, Kat.
Thank you for telling me that story, John. That was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I do love Toronto. It's a great city. Been there many times. I love riots.
I mean, who doesn't? We've done a few. We talked about a few riots on here.
We absolutely have.
Yeah.
And I love. It's just a fun story, man. Clowns versus cops. It's pretty good.
Just the juxtaposition of clowns onto Riot. It just did my heart so good.
100%.
Yep. Cool.
Well done, sir. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah. If anybody, if you know some facts about the clown riot of 1855 that I missed, if you live in Toronto and you are familiar with this piece of history and there's something that you feel could be beneficial for us and the listeners, the mistakers, to know about, please send us an email. And Kat, where should they send that email?
You can send that to mymistakepodcast@gmail.com.
They can do it right there.
Did you know that Jill is a big fan of Golden Girls?
I did not, but I do, and I will take that knowledge with me wherever I go.
There you go.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. If and especially hey Kat, has Jill ever written a review for us or rated the podcast to your knowledge?
John, I do not know if that's the case. I think
because I'll tell you what, if we are doing all of this publicity for Jill and she hasn't come on up off a little favor for us as well, we might need to regulate.
I think that has to happen.
I might need to send in the clowns if you know what I'm talking about.
I feel like we'll find out as soon as she listens to this episode.
Okay. Well, whether Jill has or has not done it, I cannot overemphasize how much we appreciate it when our mistakers write us a review or even just give us a 5-star. It's even better if you write something, but if you don't have time for that, or you feel like it's intimidating to have to type something, 5 stars is great. Throw 5 stars on it.
So intimidating.
Kat, we're living in a very undermotivated world right now, so we take what we can get. Okay?
No, we'll take what we can get. And honestly, that would be awesome. Just a few moments of your time. That would be so great. Yeah. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, we devote probably 2 to 3 hours a week of our lives on this, so you can do 5 minutes. I'm not mad at you.
Yeah, come on.
Why don't you do it? Come on, do it now. Come on, pause this now, or just keep on listening and do it.
Yeah, we'll pause. Hold on,
we're fine. We'll pause. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, let's be quiet for a second. All right, cool. I feel like that's enough time, at least to do the rating.
Yeah. If they're only doing, and if you're doing the other, we'll just wait till this is over and then you can do it. If you want to write out the whole thing,
just write what we're about to say. My Mistake podcast
is the greatest podcast that has ever existed.
Everyone should be listening to it.
If they're not, they should be beaten up by clowns.
That's perfect. I mean, there you go. You don't have to think about it. We've done most of the work. We handed it to you. Exactly. Come on.
A silver platter. Come on. It would be. You know what, Kat? You know what would make me wake up tomorrow morning in love with the world?
What's that?
If even 3 different people actually took exactly what we just said and typed it into a review, I would wake up and be like, all right, we're doing another 6 years of this podcast. I've just renewed us for another 6 years, Kat.
We're coming back, baby.
Yep, it's happening.
That would be so funny. I hope at least one person has to do this.
It would, please, if you don't depend on someone else to be that one awesome person. Be the one. Know that we will love you.
Be the change you want to see in this podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Kat, for those inspiring words.
You're very welcome, John.
Yeah.
So I'm here.
I know you are. We out here.
Just winging it.
Yeah, always. Just you love it. You love it when I say just winging it. I don't know why.
It's so good. It tickles me.
That's good. I like to tickle you long distance.
I love it too.
I feel like we've kind of said it. Have we done it?
We've done it. It is done.
Love it. Love all of it. Want some more of it. But you can't have it. What do you think we are? People who work at Marianne Armstrong's house?
Yeah, come on.
It's limited. All right. FMP, Kat.
FMP, John. Jill has 3 kids.